Namaste people, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'll familiarize you with the link between animal abuse and other human crime, and will also focus on a few serial killers. Generally, people who hurt animals don't stop with animals. They often escalate to women and children who are often considered to be soft targets and easy victims. With time, the habit of abusing a defenseless animal dissipates, and in order to impose their power, such abusers then prey on women and children. This particular connection makes it critically important that cruelty towards animals be taken seriously by law enforcement agencies and by society at large. This is for the sake of animals themselves and for people who are also at risk. Ample research backs up the finding that there is a direct connection between acts of cruelty to animals and violence towards humans. This includes child abuse, domestic violence, elder abuse, and other violent behavior. In this context, I'd like to mention few truisms of criminology regarding animal cruelty which can be seen in the presentation. Cruelty to animals is a precursor to a larger crime. There is an inextricable connection between animal abuse and criminal violence. If someone is harming an animal, there is a good chance that they are hurting a human as well. And animal abusers of today could be the serial killers of tomorrow. As Robert K. Ressler, the person who developed the profiles of serial killers for the Federal Bureau of Investigation, stated, "Murderers very often start out by killing and torturing animals when they were kids." Apart from this, various researchers have shown that violent and aggressive criminals are more likely to have abused animals in their childhood than those criminals who are considered non-aggressive. Further, a survey on aggression against cat, dog, and people, child psychology, and human development conducted on psychiatric patients who had repeatedly tortured animals found that all of them had high level of aggression towards human beings as well. According to a South Wales newspaper, a police study in Australia revealed that 100% of sexual homicide offenders examined had a history of animal cruelty. History is replete with serial killers whose violent tendencies were first directed at animals. In this regard, we'll be discussing about some notorious serial killers who in their childhood abused animals before targeting humans. The first person is Richard Ramirez, who was known as Night Stalker, was an American serial killer. He raped and tortured over 25 victims and killed more than 12. At the age of 29, he was sentenced to the conviction of 13 murders, 5 attempts to murder, 11 sexual assault, and 14 burglaries. He had been on death row for more than 23 years and died from B-cell lymphoma at 53 in 2013. He stabbed and gutted animals. The next person is Ted Bundy. He was an American serial killer who kidnapped, raped, and murdered various young women and girls during the 1970s. Before his execution in 1989, he confessed to 30 homicides that he committed in the 7 states between 1974 and 1978. The exact number is unknown and possibly higher. He was regarded as handsome and charismatic. He used these traits to win the trust of the victims in society. And this person used to approach the victim in public places pretending to be affected by injury or disability or by impersonating himself as an authority before knocking them unconscious and taking them to sheltered locations to rape and strangle them. He tortured animals in his youth. And the next person, Jeffrey Dahmer, who was an American serial killer and sex offender who committed the murder and dismemberment of 17 men and boys from 1978 to 1991. He killed animals and mounted their head on stakes. And then David Berkowitz, also known as the son of Sam and the 44 caliber killer, is an American serial killer who pleaded guilty to 8 separate shooting attacks that began in New York City during the summer of 1976. Pleaded guilty to 13 murders and attempted murder charges. Once shot a neighbor's Labrador retriever, Brenda Spencer, who opened fire at a California school killing 2 children and injuring 9 others, had repeatedly abused cats and dogs, often setting their tails on fire. And then, Carol Edward Cole, an American serial killer who was executed in 1985 for killing at least 15 women and 1 boy by strangulation. He strangled puppies. And the next person is Albert DeSalvo, who is an American and serial killer in Boston, Massachusetts, who confessed to being the Boston Strangler, the murderer of 13 women in Boston from 1962 to 1964. He tortured animals in his childhood and began shoplifting and stealing in early adolescence, frequently crossing paths with the law. So people, be very cautious while talking to a stranger, because we cannot distinguish a common man from a serial killer or a criminal, because even they are human but lack humanity. Till now we discussed the link between animal cruelty and domestic violence. Now we'll be moving on to a way out from this. Friends, as we all know, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Communities must recognize that abuse to any living being is unacceptable and endangers everyone. Children should be taught to care for and respect animals. After an extensive study of the connection between animal abuse and human abuse, it can be concluded that the evolution of a friendly relationship in human society might be enhanced by our promotion of a more positive and nurturing ethic between children and animals. Keeping this in mind, please be sure to urge your local law enforcement agencies, prosecutors, judges, and schools to take cruelty to animals seriously. Those charged with protecting our communities and animals must send a strong message that violence against any living creature, human or non-human, is unacceptable. Be aware of signs of neglect or abuse in children and animals, and immediately do report suspected crime to the authorities. Take children seriously if they report that animals are being neglected or mistreated. Don't ignore even minor act of cruelty to animals by children. Talk to the child and the child's parent. If necessary, please do contact a social worker. As the late Shri Jawaharlal Nehru sir once rightly said, today's children build tomorrow's nation. Teaching the values of life, discipline and culture can make them grow as responsible citizens of tomorrow, with the harmonious development of the personality. With this I conclude. Thanks a lot for watching. Please do share and comment if you like my video. Stay connected if you have the zeal to learn new things, and I'll be back soon with another interesting topic.